But if they were, I mean, regardless, it's not going to affect their compensatory pick formula if it's a week after the draft. So you talk about the value in that. You talk about the value in getting just two stellar players. You talk about the value in bringing them and putting them on a defense with Bobby Wagner, Aaron Donald, and Jalen Ramsey, and Leonard Floyd and Ernest Jones and all the other playmakers. And now it just becomes who on God's green earth is going to be able to stop this defense and then this team and then the offense. Because, complementary football is key with Sean McVay style, Rams teams. And I think there's a lot of complementary football being played here because when you look at it, folks, if you go out and you get, Tyrann Mathieu and Stephon Gilmore, now you're adding these guys that can help you take the ball away. And I think that's the thing. You want to generate more possessions on the offense. You have a great offense. In all likelihood, it's going to be top 5, probably better. But you want to make sure that you maximize their opportunities, get them on the field more often, be able to have those drives, extra drives, take away. And I think by adding Tyrann Mathieu, Stephon Gilmore, whether it is a punch out, a strip, whatever, or it's a pick, I think these guys can take the ball away. I think it's very important. Also, tough downs like, 3rd and long. The Rams really struggled on 3rd and long, but I think if you have guys like Gilmore and Mathieu, I think that really helps you out. These guys are very tough to shake in coverage, and I think they do a great job. And just the myriad of things that they bring to the table. You talk about Stephon Gilmore's physicality, the bigger built corner on the outside. He's a true boundary corner. He makes a lot of sense, and honestly, it starts to look a little bit like you have an Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters type of corner situation, but just to the max, where you just max this thing out. It's like my laptop, for instance. You can, when you buy a laptop on, Apple Store, and you go through in the MacBook, it's like you check this box, you check this box, and this box. The Rams are just trying to check it all off and then max it out. And that's what they would be doing. They would essentially be maxing out their defense. If they could say this offseason, yeah, we lost Von Miller, but we added Bobby Wagner, and we added Stephon Gilmore, and we added Tyrann Mathieu. Hate to break it to you, but I don't know how many other teams are going to be able to compete with this team. I see many that are saying the biggest, I would say many are saying the biggest issue for the Rams as far as, team that they have to worry about or, competition or what is in their way is Tampa. And I would disagree. I would say the biggest concern with the Rams is themselves and just the nature of the beast. And what it comes down to is when you play in the NFL, there's always injury risks. There's always things that come up that you don't suspect. And I think you always have to be prepared for that. That is what is the biggest concern for the Rams. The Rams can't afford to beat themselves, and they're going to have to stay healthy throughout this process. They got a great, obviously a great training staff headlined by Reggie Scott. And I think at the end of the day that they have a great coaching staff that has kept these guys on their toes, has kept them developed and ready for anything to happen. You already won a Super Bowl. Some people are worried about them not having that edge, the crunch, wanting it. They already have been somewhat satisfied, right? A lot of them already won the Super Bowl. I disagree. I don't think the Rams are going to fall off because they don't want the Super Bowl as much. I think there is some truth to when you win one, you want to win another just as bad or more than before. And so I think that the Rams are gearing up for what could be a very, very exciting, title defense this season. I think that they are ready. They saw what Tampa did. They saw that Tampa was, basically complacent in their approach. Just bringing back all 22. Yeah, that sounds great on paper. It's a nice little feel-good story, guys taking less, whatever. But here's the thing, okay? You take less, you bring back the same roster. That same roster led you to a Super Bowl and you won said Super Bowl, but that's assuming that everything goes the right way. And if you think about it, if the Rams say don't lose to the Packers, they probably beat the Bucks, and who knows, maybe they're in the Super Bowl in 2020. So that's the thing to always keep in mind is just because it was good enough to get you there doesn't mean you should be running it back, so to speak, because you always have to assume that everybody the next year is going to have, basically the target. There's going to be a target on your back, and they're going to have everything. They're going to go balls to the wall to figure out a way to improve upon their offense, their defense, their special teams. And if you're not realizing that teams are going to do that every year, you are going to fall behind. And I don't think the Rams are a complacent organization in that regard. So this is why they're doing moves like this. This is why they're interested. This is why they are entertaining the idea. Thank you so much, Yakov Burton. Appreciate you for donating. The cap is cap, pretty much. The cap is still there. It is still legit, but the Rams have just done such a nice job of manipulating it that at this point they can't really be stopped. So really what it comes down to is that the Rams weren't going to run it back with the same squad. It made no sense whatsoever. Obviously, we knew Andrew Whitworth was going to retire, and so was Eric Weddle. But I think at the end of the day that this team is really starting to take shape. And, I'll say this. There are some cautionary issues here with the Rams that I don't think are being discussed. And I'll play a little bit devil's advocate here. And this is the thing that I want to see more. When people are going to shade the Rams and say they don't have it, they don't have what it takes, they're not going to do it this year, they can't repeat, I want to hear them mention why. And I'm not hearing enough good reasons. First off, the number one reason that could stop the Rams from repeating is injuries. And that is with every team. So you can't have that. It's not exclusive to the Rams. That is with every team. Injuries can derail any team at any given time. You have 17 regular season games. You have X amount of playoff games. So injuries are always a factor, right? But that's not just the Rams. It's not exclusive to the Rams, so just keep that in mind. That's one thing, but that's the thing for every team. So what's exclusive to the Rams? Let's start. Quarterback, Matthew Stafford. You could probably go with the injury thing there because you could be concerned a little bit with Matthew Stafford and, just the potential of being hurt. Obviously the different things that came out, how banged up he was, how he might have to get, surgery, yada, yada, things like that. I don't worry about the quarterback position at all. If he were to go down, it's part of the injury number one, which is the thing I said. That's not exclusive to the Rams. That literally is with every single team in the league. So that is that. Okay, running back. What's the concern there? How would the running backs stop the Rams from repeating? Well, I'll tell you this right now. The running backs could be an issue because of injuries, which does go with the first thing, which is not exclusive to the Rams. But hear me out when I say this. This is the 24th ranked rushing attack last season. That is going to improve, and it needs to improve for Stafford to have, basically the, if you want to 10x that offense, if you want to really find the sweet spot up here and find out what the full potential really is, then you're going to have a rushing attack. And 24th in the league is not going to cut it. And the reason I say that this is a little bit of a concern, I can understand if people are going to say, the Rams aren't going to repeat for this reason, is because Andrew Whitworth is not back, and they did lose Austin Corbett in free agency. Those are real things. So just to assume that the offensive line will remain the same, that might not be so true. But, all right, let's move on. Wide receiver, what's the deal there? Well, aside from injuries, which, again, does not count exclusively to the Rams, you have Cooper Kupp. What are teams going to do? They're going to try to do what they did in the Super Bowl, take Cooper Kupp out of the game. I don't think that works because I think the Rams have prepared themselves for this upcoming season, going out and getting a guy that doesn't need to create a lot of separation, that is going to be somebody that can step up and make the big plays, 50-50, turn a 50-50 ball into an 80-20 ball, and that is Allen Robinson. You have Van Jefferson over the top. You have Atwell and you have Harris as guys that have potential, potentially OBJ coming back in November if they do get to sign him. So I think the Rams understand. They know what they're doing there. I don't think that's a concern. I think right now the only concern that I've discussed so far is the running back spot. You want to see the rushing attack take over, get better, and offer more for Stafford, where now all of a sudden play action is going to be bought, and teams are now going to have to play the play action more and take it more seriously because they might actually run the ball. If they're not running the ball well, you're going to know Stafford's likely throwing, and the Rams will have a way more pass-heavy offense than a run-heavy one. So then you look at tight ends. What's the concern there? Again, no injuries count. Tyler Higbee is as all-around tight end as they come right now. He has really improved his game. Yeah, he's coming off an injury, but he'll be good to go easily before the season. Not worried about that. Not worried about Bryson Hopkins, who's already played in a huge game. Not worried about Kendall Blanton. They could add another tight end. We'll see. The offensive line, it kind of goes back to what I was saying. There's more depth than there are proven talent at starter because you just don't know what's going to happen at right guard. You just don't. So I think Coleman Shelton will do a nice job, but that's the only concern I have is the offensive line being a little bit of a worry in regards to, blocking and helping in the run game. Now we move over to the defense. What is the one thing? I really only took one thing away from the offensive side, and that is the rushing attack has to get better. But what is another thing that will stop the Rams from repeating? It's not the defensive line. I don't think it's the defensive line. I think they're going to be very good against the run. I think they're going to have help with Bobby Wagner. I think Ernest Jones is going to help them out. I think they're going to have plenty of penetration because of Aaron Donald. I think they got a good rotation with guys like Copeland and Bobby Brown and Hoyt and Jonah Williams and whoever else they decide to add if they do add anybody. I like their starters. So no, I don't have any issue with the line. The outside linebackers I don't have an issue with. I understand they may not be the sexy option to go with a Justin Hollins or a Terrell Lewis, but hear me out when I say they are good football players. Lewis, it's an injury risk with him. As long as he stays healthy, he plays very well. Justin Hollins, he was playing very well. He goes down with an injury, but for the most part, they got a lot of talent there. I think they can add, obviously a D'Angelo Malone or somebody like that, Josh Paschal out of Kentucky, to help the edge presence. But for the most part, they got the edge, they got the defensive line, they got linebackers. So now we move to corner and we move to safety. And those are the concerns that I have. And that is why the Rams, if you're looking at ways that can really just stifle the Rams from repeating, it's the rushing attack, which I think they'll address in the NFL draft. And on top of it, on the defensive side, it's the secondary, which it looks like they're trying to address through free agency, whether it be Gilmore or Matthew or both. And that is why I am such a big fan of this move. It all comes around, wraps around in a little bit of a bow here, just trying to explain everything and why I was saying what I was saying. So that is basically my thought process on that. It's why, for people are like, why are they going after Gilmore? Why are they going after Matthew? That's why. You can basically wrap it up in a bow, and at the end of the day, when you have all those things that are like, okay, this is in our way from repeating, this is a boundary, this is a barricade, so forth, you want to be able to attack that. And some will look at this and say, the Rams are going for just pure star power, and maybe there's some truth to that, but these guys are needs more than you would think. And obviously, the Rams aren't going to be labeled these guys are needs because they are a team coming off a Super Bowl win. So people aren't going to look at the logical aspect of this outside of Rams fans. They are going to look at the fact that the Rams are taking over the cap, which everyone knows that they do a really good job manipulating the cap, one. And two, they're going to talk about the fact that the Rams are just going after stars. That's not necessarily true because when you win, you have a perk. When you play in LA, you have a perk. When you have a great head coach and a great organization and a culture and winning players and very likable players with great reputations around the league, you have a perk. And what do I mean by that? I think it's very easy to see teams, like the Rams, who have everything there at their disposal, getting guys and basically talking them into coming over on, cheaper deals, on shorter deals, and just coming and saying, hey, we're going to win a ring. Do you want to win one with us or not? I think it's that simple, and that's why, at the end of the day, that's why I have it the way I have it. So I think this makes a lot of sense for the Rams. I personally would go with Matthew over Gilmore, but I'll take them both if the Rams are going to go after them both. And they can do that. The question is, are they going to? Because they can. If they decide, say Gilmore says, I'm going to play with the Rams. And he says, hey, let's make this work. I want to play with you guys. I've decided I'm going to sign with you guys. And then Gilmore says that, and then Matthew says that. Then the Rams are going to have to make something happen. Because you can't just turn down both of them. If they both want to come, you have to try to find a way to make it happen. And the Rams really can. It's not going to be easy. And it could mean that they can't get OBJ until late, or, at all. They might have to wait until they do the Cup deal. They might have to wait until the Donald deal goes through. But regardless, I really think that they need to, pursue that. So that is what I'll say in that regard. I'm feeling really good about the way this looks so far for the Rams. They're getting at least one of them, I think. I don't know who it's going to be, Gilmore or Matthew. But I can tell you right now, they're not testing the waters on these guys just for the sake of it. Like, they're going to get one of these guys if they're really into it. And that's kind of where I'm going here. if they're really into this, like we're seeing, they're going to end up with at least one of these guys wearing horns on their helmet. And the fact is, and the reason we know this is because there's not a guy in the draft that is going to add to the defense what they will add to the defense that you could grab in the 3rd round. Okay? No draft pick is going to give the Rams that quick of a turnaround, that much help right away than Gilmore and Matthew. And so the Rams are very much alive. They know they don't have to trade assets for these guys, and they know that if they wait until after the draft, they're not going to have to give up any of those compensatory picks because all of a sudden the compensatory formula is locked. It's done. A week after the draft, it is locked. You cannot penalize any team for signing after that point. You don't lose any picks away. They're all locked in. And so I think there's a lot of value there. I think it makes a lot of sense for the Rams, and I will not be surprised if they end up with one of these guys. I still won't be surprised they end up with them both because the Rams mean business. This is the start. You can say, and this is where teams that win titles really show what kind of title contender they are and what kind of title defense they're going to have. Are they going to be the team that, hey, we won a Super Bowl, this was great, now let's just kind of take it easy. Maybe we don't have to go after that marquee free agent. We already won the Super Bowl. Let's take it easy. I think we can do it, but maybe not spend as much. Or are you going to be that team that's going to grab the NFL by the balls and hold them over a pit of fire and basically say, you know what? We are the next dynasty in this league. We are just like Bill Belichick, Brady Patriots. We are going to make your life a living hell, and we are going to take over the NFL. You are not going to want to see us on Sundays. We are going to kick your literal ass, and at the end of the day, we are going to be hoisting the Lombardi, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times. That will be the goal. Always winning a Super Bowl. Not talking about, hey, we're going to win a Super Bowl. This is our goal. No, the Rams will literally embody the idea of winning a Super Bowl every year if they go out and they get, Gilmore and Matthew. That says everything about where this team and their mindset is at. It says a ton. So I'm very excited to see how this unfolds. I'm excited to cover it for you. I'm excited to talk about this with you guys and be able to kind of celebrate this because, I just think at the end of the day, there's a lot of good that can come out of this. And, people will say, oh, okay, this is just buying a championship. No, it's not. It's absolutely not buying a championship. They have the most draft picks on the roster as of right now, today, more than any other team. You could say, well, that's what happens when you're very top heavy. You have to go stars and scrubs. But these guys aren't scrubs. And we're seeing the coaching staff and what they're doing. Sean McVay and what he's doing is so incredible to me because he's basically always had what's the word I'm looking for? He's always had a target on his back. From the moment he was the golden boy, from the moment he became the head coach of the Rams, no one looked at the fact he took over the 4-12 team, he went 11-5, and that was great. Okay? They looked at the fact he lost that playoff game, and instantly it was, oh, I thought he was the golden boy. Oh, well, nice turnaround, but you didn't win a playoff game. And then the next year, it's been all about Sean McVay growing, right? And then the next year they go to the Super Bowl, and then they don't make the playoffs the year after that, and then they go back to the playoffs and win the wild card game on the road and have a chance against the Packers in the divisional round. And then the next year they win the Super Bowl. This has always been about this organization growing, learning from their mistakes. The Rams have been a trial and error team, trial and error franchise. They are not afraid to basically kick tires on anybody, okay? And that's the thing that makes them so great. It's why that they are, Super Bowl champions right now. They're going to be defending champions. And at the end of the day, when you're willing to make all of these sort of moves and you're not afraid to come out and be like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to go after Brandon Cooks because I can't get Odell Beckham Jr. because the Giants are totally trying to, screw us. They want Rob Havenstein. They want Aaron Donald. Their offer's not fair. We know that they're offering more for us because we have more to offer. We're not offering those guys. We're not going to go after OBJ. We're going to go and trade for Brandon Cooks. We're going to trade a first rounder and be done with it. We're going to get Cooks. So you get Cooks. Or let's just say, look, we got Cooper Kupp. We got Josh Reynolds. I think we need another receiver with Josh Reynolds, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods. Let's go out and trade a second rounder and a corner that doesn't really fit our scheme in EJ Gaines for Sammy Watkins. I think he'll help. It's been trial and error all along. Clay Matthews signing, the Connor Barwin signing. I mean, all these signings have been trial and error, and it's led to a Super Bowl and then some. This team is well respected around the league now, and teams are really starting to get to realize, like, this team you don't want to mess with. You don't want to get into a bidding war against. The Ravens learned that the hard way. They tried to up their offer for Bobby Wagner, and in the end, he chose the Rams. This is how it's going to be. And so the Rams just have to keep adding on to it with wins and production. And the best way to do that is stay one step ahead of the competition. You were good enough to win the Super Bowl, and already this team is starting to look like it could be better than last year. Keep that in mind. So it's a lot of exciting things down the pipeline here. I'm just telling you right now, the Rams have basically chosen war in the NFL. They're not sitting back and saying, yeah, we won a Super Bowl. I mean, let's just take it easy. Let's not. No. They're like, checkmate. Like, they are absolutely all in, ready to go after it once again, and that is exactly what you want to see. And I don't know if it's because they're in LA or what, but they have the right management, they have the right coaching staff, they have the right personnel, team, whatever you want to call it. Everything is going right now for them. Obviously, injuries, we talked about it. They can derail any team, but we don't predict injuries before the season unless it's, Russell Wilson. Then we knew that was coming because Seattle can't protect him to save their life, and now he's on the Broncos. But that is my long rambling on speech, I guess. But I really just wanted to put it out there for you why they're doing what they're doing. And even if they don't make a move on any of these guys, I'm at least impressed with the fact that they're involved. I'm impressed with the fact that they are looking outside the box. Oh, we don't pay linebackers. Bobby Wagner just came up. We're paying a freaking linebacker. Like, they're not afraid to step out of their comfort zone and do the little trial and error. I love to see it. Let's keep it up. And they're going to. I think that this is a team that I wouldn't rule out. They get Gilmore, they get Matthew, and then maybe mid-season, they're like, you know what, we need a pass rusher. And they figure out a way. They pay extra, like, Von Miller. They pay a second and a third, but they pay extra, so the team takes the entire contract of whoever pass rusher that they trade for. They trade for at the deadline, and then they don't have to trade. They don't have to basically spend any money on them, so they can keep them on the cap. Don't be surprised if they do that either, because this team is ready. This team is absolutely ready to make some noise. And like I was saying, if they win this, they like this Super Bowl, which they did. They are going to be the next dynasty in the NFL. And I think, that is to come. And I don't think it's crazy to admit that. And for people saying, well, I'm a little worried, because they're in the NFC West and we know how good the NFC West is and they have a first place schedule and it's going to get harder from here. Yeah, their schedule isn't going to be easy ever. It's not. They play in the NFC West. You just said it. But if you really think that the Rams are scared of that, I don't know what to say. Because this team did not even come close to as good as they could have been on the offensive side of the ball. I thought that they, at times, didn't look like they had a plan. I thought at times they looked really poor in the red zone. They didn't, anywhere near the level of execution that I thought that they would have had. At times, Matthew Stafford threw some passes that you're like, what are you doing? And even still, they won the Super Bowl. And on top of it, their offense was still very good, despite the fact they were 24th ranked in rushing. Now they have Cam Akers, who's back. He's going to have a full off season to get ready for whatever he needs to do. I think he definitely needs to work on pass protection and, other things. Now, they also have Darrell Henderson. If those guys can stay healthy and they get a full offseason to work together, I know Sean McVay alluded to the idea of using two running backs in the backfield. I just think the offense, it showed you. I mean, they didn't need them to be great. They needed them to be good enough to win a Super Bowl, and that's what they were. Sean McVay isn't about being complacent and having the same offense as last year. They told you guys this because actions do speak louder than words when they decided to go out and get Allen Robinson. That's them being one step ahead of the curve, and once again, the trial and error. Had the Rams had a wide receiver like Allen Robinson since they got Sean McVay? Not really. And it got bad because at one point, coaches actually viewed Josh Reynolds could be that guy. He was never that guy. So now that you have Allen Robinson, you have a guy that's not afraid to throw at any point with Matthew Stafford. That's going to be a genius. You have Kupp coming off a Triple Crown season. You know what Cam Akers can do when he's fully healthy. You know what Darrell Henderson can do. You have Tyler Higbee, well-rounded tight end. You have Van Jefferson, who was top 7 in yards per catch, was a big-time deep threat. I mean, this is what it comes down to. 800-yard receiver, good offensive line. We'll see how good they are. And then the defense. I just think at the end of the day, this team's going to be a lot better at the end of the day than people realize. And it sounds funny to say that, but I'm still seeing, they have to worry about the Bucs. They have to worry about the Packers. They have to worry about the Niners. I never see them talk about worrying about the Vikings for whatever reason. People are sleeping on them, just fair warning. But, yeah, I don't really get it. I think the only thing that's going to hold the Rams back are injuries and the Rams. If the Rams beat themselves, that's really what's going to come down to. I mean, for the most part, I understand you lose your safety coach, Evero, you lose OC, Kevin O'Connell. That's going to be talking points for the talking heads in the media saying, well, they lost O'Connell, they lost Evero, they lost this guy, they lost that guy, they lost Von Miller. I understand. That is definitely going to be brought up. They're going to talk about Whitworth. They're going to talk about losing Corbett. But it's going to be what I would call a regurgitated, conglomerate. I don't know. Like, I would call it a regurgitated crap, basically, because it's the same thing. We went through it last year. I made a joke about it when people were saying, well, the Rams aren't going to do anything because they just lost Troy Hill and John Johnson. Well, you tell me the last time, Rob Parker, that you actually said John Johnson and Troy Hill in your everyday speech, because I don't think you've ever mentioned them. I love when people do that. I really do, because it really shows you that they don't know what they're talking about. So when it comes to the Rams, you're looking at these guys and the guys that they lost, and I can already tell you it's going to be an offseason full of, let's forget that they got Bobby Wagner and Allen Robinson and Honey Badger if they get him, and Gilmore if they get him, and if they bring back OBJ, and let's instead talk about the fact that they lost Whitworth, they lost Corbett, they lost Sebastian Joseph Day, they lost Evero, they lost O'Connell. Like, I'm telling you now, it's going to be that type of offseason, and you're going to have to get used to it, because they're going to have to create a narrative, because this team looks like there's no point of even watching the NFL next year if they get Gilmore and Matthew, unless you're a Rams fan. That's basically what it is. So, I mean, that's why. Like, they're going to have to create some sort of narrative to get you riled up and continue watching, because it's going to get hard to not watch this, it's going to get hard to watch this team if you're not a Rams fan, basically. So